3, 2.
Hi, good evening everybody. My name is Annie and I'm coming to you live first ever on the Design Thinkers Academy Singapore Facebook page. I'm sure we're all very curious why DTA Singapore decided to take the plunge on coming onto Facebook Live. Well, I have with me the three brains behind DTA Singapore, and to my left, we have this strapping young man in brown, in blue, with a spectacle like mine. All right, this is Daryl, our stirrer. And moving on to my right, this is our jack of all trades, Wayne. And to my far right, that's Rosemary. She is our network orchestrator. Honestly, her persona, I always pronounce it wrongly. All right, and how about myself? I do have a persona myself, and my persona is lover. Why lover? I've got friends telling me lover is very negative sounding, right? But for me, there's a meaning behind it, and that's because I choose to live one's value every day. All right, so that's why that persona stuck with me. Well, in design thinking, we always talk about persona. So let me get Daryl to explain what exactly is persona. But before that, I prefer to hear from Wayne, our jack of all trades.
Thank you. So I'm a jack of all trades simply because I do a lot of things and I do enjoy learning new things. So it is because of this interest in learning new things and pick up different hobbies that I start to explore the many possibilities of doing things that can be mashed together, like planning events as a start. You need to be able to know the technicalities behind the event, the party itself, whether the food needs to be prepared, entertainment needs to be included. So this is where I grew up having parties at home and having barbecues, and also known to be the chef because I do my own cooking. So jack of all trades. And maybe Rose can introduce herself.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay. Okay, so I'm Rosemary, and I am the network orchestrator, okay, and not orchestra or else. Okay, so what I do is that, in every businesses, okay, it is very integral to have peers, partners, to form that value creation. So instead of us investing into assets, we decided to invest in people, because in people, that's where our business is. So that's what design thinking is all about. So that is why, you need a network orchestrator. And back to you, Annie.
You know what, Rosemary? So this network orchestrator. All right. So just now when Wayne talked about jack of all trades, he talks about events and talk about food. It's like 5 o'clock, and he's talking about food. All right. I think he's making me hungry.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. It's like at 5 o'clock you don't say about food, right?
Oh,
but it's okay.
We'll have something later.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Are you going to cook for us?
Maybe. Let's see what we can.
What is stirring? What could be stirring?
I don't know. The weather's cold, so maybe we can have some kind of a hot soup, hot dish later on. Yeah.
And we need a stirrer to tell us.
And yeah, you need to really stir things in the pot, right, to get the flavors out.
So that's where we need to hear from Mr. Stirrer. Why stirrer?
Why stirrer? Thank you very much, Annie. And thank you all of you who have joined us today. I think it's starting to get a bit hungry. So I'm also getting hungry. But having said that, stirring has been a great big part of my life, and I always strongly believe in not maintaining status quo, living each day for itself, and making each day a better one for yourselves and the people that you love. So that's why stirring is my persona, and I love it.
But have you ever thought that what if you stir the wrong person? What's going to happen?
Well, if I stir the wrong person, then I guess then you need to be mindful.
How do you know? I mean, when you look at the person as you're talking to the person, how do you know that the person is the right or wrong person to stir?
Well, I don't know. I think it is that ability to be mindful when you're stirring with the person, and seeing whether the space has been taken away or the space has been given to that particular person. I try to make it a point to really give space, give that opportunity for one to air his or her views. But of course, I do have my own pitfalls sometimes as well, right? When I get stirred and I don't know how to control myself. But that's all part and parcel of life. I think that's what life gives us, that opportunity to make it a better one for that person sitting next to you.
Well, that's true. I mean, in design thinking, we talk about journey, we talk about persona. And so maybe, Daryl, you'd like to share with us what got you started on this journey, on this design thinking journey?
Well, well, I knew of design thinking close to 10 years plus ago, I would imagine, when my ex-colleague kind of shared with me a bit about design thinking. I thought, nah, it's something that everyone knows. It's common sense. Come on, how can you not know about design thinking? But I think the moment of truth came when I met my peers and people whom I call friends today. Those of you who are listening, thank you for joining us today.
So here, not friends?
Well, now come on. No, well, it's these friends that made me realize the value that we bring to the world. Every single one of us is given that opportunity to make that life a bit better for the other. And I think being in Netherlands and seeing all these friends from all the different countries, whether Brazil, whether South Africa, America, Eastern Europe, we all bring that same thing, that ability to make that experience a better one. That made me realize that, wow, all of us have got this capability and this gift to be able to make it a better one. So why not? Why not start stirring and see what comes out of it?
No, it's interesting that you say that, like all of us have a gift. So having said that, I'm sure, Wayne, you have a gift of culinary. So how did you start from like a chef and end up being on this journey on design thinking?
Well, basically, I'm in the hospitality trade, and I love the instant gratification I get from serving people and having them be surprised and happy about the service. And it made sense when I was introduced to design thinking, right? That although it's such a simple idea or thing, design thinking, what is that? It actually made sense to me that you have a certain process and tools to understand a bit deeper, right? Because we as humans like to jump to conclusions, and you are always in that frame. In order to get out of that, you would have to have different experiences, to have the ability to look at things differently, and then come up with new innovative ideas. Yeah, and that's what the passion in me in cooking and delivering new experiences is all about. And being the jack of all trades, I can always imagine, what's it like to be dining on a boat, right? And then, it's rocky and so on, and people are sick of seafood. Maybe they want something else, right? After seeing, I mean, the first few days you could probably have seafood because you're out in sea and you have fresh things. But after a while, you might get sick of it. Then you might want a steak instead, right? So these are the things that I consider, I look at, and create the experience for them, right? So it's all about exploring.
I see. I guess for me it's also very interesting. I stumbled upon design thinking last year, right in the midst of like the pandemic. Okay, for whatever the reason is, I'm not sure. But as I stumbled upon design thinking, I came to realize that it's very similar to what I used to do as an events planner, right? As an events planner, you literally was designing a good experience for your clientele. You want to make sure that the guests and the participants at the event enjoy themselves. And I think Rosemary will concur with that, because I do know that Rosemary has some background in events as well.
Yes. Thank you, Annie. So, I agree, Annie. We are a designer ourselves, and none of us are lack of creativity. It's whether you put that to constant practice. It's just like, if we go to the gym, we used to have this thing called brain gym, remember?
Yes.
Which we conduct because in our realization, it's not about the physical gym that we need to go to. It is also an exercise that we need to exercise our brains for that creativity to happen. So in my design thinking, I think it's important for me because I need to look at how we can meet our customer demand, the needs, and how then we can bring that satisfaction to our clients, and the only way we could do that is not about employing the number of staff, but more so into who that can join the movement and share this pie together with us to collaborate, to co-create this space that we are holding for them, and I guess that's how it happens. Me being the network orchestrator, I put everything together and form that value chain and creation for my client. Yeah.
Wow, that's very nice.
I just want to quickly jump in at this point to also talk about how the three of us actually got together. It was purely by, I would imagine, by coincidence or by chance that the three of us came together. I knew Wayne from Army, right? We got to know each other in the Army camp days, and we weren't even from the same Army camp, interestingly. But
only until reservists.
Until the reservists, yeah. But it was then that we started to see some alignments in some of our visions and some of our aspirations. Yeah? And that's when Wayne and I decided, let's just take the plunge. Let's go and try it out and see how that works out. Similarly, when Rosemary came along the way, Rosemary was very busy then. She was doing an international thing. And I think that was, I was asking myself, I wish I could work with this person because it's really enjoyable working with this. At that time, she wasn't a network orchestrator, but it was just a person that you could relate to, someone who could understand you, and someone that I felt, I think we might be able to just speak the same language. And of course came Annie. Annie somewhat is my stirrer. So I stir people, I get stirred by Annie. And it's a positive thing. When do you stir the wrong person? Frankly speaking, I think every stir is an opportunity for us to become a better version of ourselves if we choose the right path. If we don't, we get stuck. But having said that, we have co-created a lot of things together. And one of the biggest creations that we had together was in the midst of COVID-19, remember? When we decided to kind of just say, let's start up a little community. And that community started to build this relationship. We started exchanges of our relationships and our emotions that we go through, just on a weekly basis. We just wanted to know who you are and what you went through. And we had simple pleasures. And I thought that was one of the most beautiful co-creations that we have had. Mm-hmm. Over time, we ran little causes. I don't know. Wayne, how has it been for you?
The whole journey, especially from the start when I went to Netherlands and had the experience of the conference there and saw the people who were involved with design thinking, it really opened up my mind and let me see a new aspect of framing and imagining and being creative, with a very intentional purpose. So that was design thinking for me, my first experience. And throughout the journey right now, it's all about sharing, right? How we can better ourselves to be more human-centric, to have the empathy as well, right? So it's been a wonderful experience so far. Rose?
Yeah. So it has been so wonderful that that is why we needed to bring something back from Netherlands to Singapore and Asia. Okay, so can we have Daryl, the honor, to tell us more about the conference?
No, I think this has brought us to the latest co-creation, and I think we are all going to take this journey together, not just the four of us, but with you at home as well.
So what is stirring? What's stirring next year?
Well, take a look yourself and see what happens.
Hi everyone and welcome back. So we have taken a look at the last 30 seconds, the video that we just rolled. Alright, so yes, we are bringing to you Design Thinking Conference Asia right here in Singapore, April 2022. So I'm not going to say much more about this. Alright, so I'm going to introduce you to the people who's going to share more. And the theme for the conference next year is through different lenses. Earlier on, you have heard about our lens, you heard from Daryl his lens, you heard from Rosemary her lens. We have another guest with us and he's going to share with you what is his lens. So guys, take it away.
Thank you very much, Annie. Hey, welcome back, those of you who are live from all over the world. Thank you very much for joining us today. Some of you might be having your breakfast right now. Have a great breakfast. Well, to kick off today's little sharing with you, is that this whole journey towards Design Thinking Conference Asia 2022 is not going to be just the three of us or the few of us that are organizing this. It is going to be together with you. And that's why the theme, Through Different Lenses. Today, we have brought along a very good friend of ours that we have finally met for the very first time. Yeah? And this person, when we first got to know him, he was just exuding with human centricity. This person is no stranger to many people. So those of you who know him, do a little quick shout out. I will not do any more introductions. Maybe I will have Santosh himself introduce himself.
Thank you, Daryl. It's actually a privilege to be here with you and, like you said, to meet you and Rose for the very first time after almost a year plus of knowing each other and interacting with each other. So it's absolute pleasure to be here and been talking to you. What do I say? I mean, yeah, I enjoy being with people. I enjoy talking to people, connecting with people, and probably that's what brought us together last year as well, right?
Yes.
And that was also at a different event. And here we are, looking forward for the next event of yours. So I'm really excited to be here with you both.
Thank you, Santosh. Okay, we do have a liner that we like to share with you, this quote, and we like to hear your view. You know, Daryl, you like to take it away?
Ken, let me share this line that, you know, as I read this line, the first thing that came to my mind was, Santosh. Wow. So, Santosh, let me share this line with you. There can be no greater gift than that of giving one's time and energy to help others without expecting anything in return. A quote by Nelson Mandela. How does that feel with you?
I mean, Nelson Mandela, an amazing personality. We know that he's so selfless, right? And he had a cause that was so much more greater than himself. It's actually a very hard quote to live by, you know. We are all human beings. And the first part of the quote, you can still live it, you know. Probably everybody, each one of us can do it. Mm-hmm. It's the second part that is extremely difficult, and that is to not expect anything back or not expect anything for ourselves, right? No expectations. Do selfless giving. So it's actually a very, very difficult quote to live by. But when you look at it closely, and if we do what we can do within our power to reach out, to connect, to engage, to help others, and leave it at just that, I think it will the world will be so much more, it's a much better place to live in, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, absolutely. And this particular quote actually should resonate with each one of us. Whether we are in personal lives, professional lives, it should work with us. So, it's actually a beautiful quote to start this whole conversation with, Daryl. Absolutely. But we have a role to play. We have a role to play. But we actually, if we really are serious about living this up, we got to change the way we think. We got to change the way we give ourselves out. So it's not just about receiving, it's also about giving. And when you give, whatever you give, make sure that you are giving it with absolutely zero expectation. And it takes effort. This is not an easy task to do. You got to take time out and effort, as Nelson Mandela very clearly says. And when you do that, I think the gratification, the happiness, the joy that you get when you do that is it's hard to explain that. It's tremendous joy when you can really achieve that kind of a sharing. Absolutely.
Yes, and no, I'm just kidding.
I can go on, as you say, but
we know, right? So exactly. I think Santosh really exudes this whole human centricity, and he has many stories that he has told before. And well, I'm hoping that we can make use of this chance just to hear from Santosh. What are some of these experiences that he might have had where people gave to him unselfishly, without having any expectations? How did that feel like for you?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm blessed to have been, gone through the journey over the last decades and have really experienced giving from others. And it starts with also maybe from one of the experiences that I can share very early on in my life is people. You don't normally know what you are and what you can do, but others see that and they believe in you and they kind of edge you into taking up that challenge. So I think it was probably about 20 plus years ago. I was not very sure of whether I should go for one of these job interviews, and it was actually at that point in time my wife who said you should give it a shot. Right? I was in my mind, it's not going to work out. I don't think I'm 100% fit for the job. But she said, you applied for it, right? I said, yeah, sure. And then she said, go for it. You had taken a day. I had taken a day off as well, in fact, for that interview. So I did go for it. Interestingly, I didn't get that job. I didn't. And thankfully so, because I would have struggled in that job and probably not been good enough to deliver what was expected. But what happened with that is, I got an opportunity to work with the same organization, but in a completely different role. And it was a calling, so I didn't expect it. I got a call from the organization, in fact, in that case, the head of the organization. And the rest is history. Actually, I tell you, that changed my career path, it changed my thinking, it changed the entire focus that I have with regards to what I do. I'm a computer engineer by background, yeah, so hardcore technologist, writing softwares, and that too, not writing softwares for people, it was actually writing softwares for SCADA systems. That was my job, so writing really embedded programs initially. And from there to switch to a completely different role, I think that was really the changing point. That was the starting point of that trigger. So that's a story I can share. But again, it's not just about my experiences. So to go back to your let me just add, Daryl. Let me just add, it's not just about mine. Right? I've seen so many inspiring people actually, and these inspiring people are people who come across on a daily basis. It's not people who are extremely rich and famous and celebrities. Because honestly, even if they do it, I don't know, I'm skeptical about it. I don't know whether they're doing it for their own popularity, whether it is doing it for their own benefit. So quoting Nelson Mandela again, I mean, so those people who are doing it for others without expecting something else, there are just so many examples. I mean, I've shared with you some examples earlier on of people in Singapore. There are people in Australia I know who have done that. I know people in India who have done that, people in Greece, Germany and other places where I've interacted with, people who do that. And I would like to just give you one example of that, and this time I will take an example from India. This gentleman by the name of Kiran Verma, he's based out of Delhi. I met him through the social platforms, through LinkedIn, right? I haven't met him in person yet. It was a COVID connection, if I'm not wrong.
Just like us.
Just like you guys, yeah. It's a COVID connection. And it's interesting because his story struck a big chord with me, and I'm connected with him and I do interact with him. What he does, he runs an organization called Simply Blood, and his mission is to make sure that no Indian, in this case, dies in a hospital because of lack of blood. And this is based on his experience, and he saw people in a hospital and in a clinic or a hospital, I don't remember exactly that part, but you know, waiting for blood and people dying because they could not just get blood, you know. Now that triggered a complete change in him, and his change, what he's doing today is so inspiring that it just tells you that if you can look out for opportunities to make a difference, and if you can step yourselves out from your comfort zone and take it up and do something, it can make a huge difference to so many people out there, right? So his story is very inspiring, and there are many, many others that I can talk about.
Simply Blood.
Simply Blood.
Okay. So Santosh, I mean, those are very, very, very inspiring stories. But we would like to hear your stories, as in, how is it like, you know, to be a human-centered person in an organization, and how are you viewing the people working around you and displaying that human-centeredness?
Okay. So like I said, I am a computer engineer by training, by education, and a large part of my career has been writing programs or getting somebody to write programs for us. And then in about 8-10 years ago, we started taking a different approach towards our users. I mean, I work for a very large company with people spread almost all over the world. I was asked at that point in time whether I would like to take up a role at a regional level covering Asia Pacific, Middle East and Africa to do something that is related to users. So it was a big change for me, obviously, because, you know, writing softwares, leading teams who are delivering such solutions, to taking on a role where I probably will not be developing things. So, you know, when you develop something yourself and then you hand it across, you feel so much more gratified, you know. You feel that gratification of seeing people actually using what you developed, right? But in this case, that's not the story. I'm not going to develop something. I'm not going to get somebody to develop something, but my responsibility will be to see how the experience of the users will be in using everything that we bring on the table. I don't know why I took up that role, but it just sounded right at that point in time, right? And I said, yeah, actually, I've been playing with machines and codes and softwares for such a long time. Maybe it's an opportunity for me to see how it reflects on the other side. How do people receive it? And that's what started my journey with connecting with people, and then making sure that whatever we do is more user-centric in the organization. And it has been a journey for us as well, right? So, you know, we don't, as human beings, we don't change so easily. I mean, it takes time to change. It took us also time to change, and we are still on a journey, I would say. I don't think we have reached an end where we can talk about yeah, that we are 100% human-centric or people-centric in everything that we do. We are on a journey. We have come a very long way on that journey. It remains an integral part of what we do, not just what we do, but also how we do now.
Right.
And I think that's where the change has happened, and that's a place I'm very happy about, because if we start thinking about how we are doing it, how is it affecting others on what we do, it makes a huge difference. So my experience on that has been truly rewarding. And in that journey, of course, I grew as a person myself as well, right? So I started becoming more sensitive to people around me, and to start to listen to what their challenges are, to identify how to address that challenge, how to solve that issue that they might have, not just by dumping it across the table, but really to say, hey, let's individualize the interaction. The problem or an issue may be a common problem, but the interaction has to be individualized, and if we can individualize at scale, then we can create a broad-based impact. That has been the attempt so far. Hopefully it is successful. At least we hear some positive feedback from the organization and from the people at large, and I'm really happy about that. So we are on a journey.
Nice.
Thank you, Santosh. I can't wait to jump at this particular question that, and I would believe everyone will ask this question as well. You know that we are all in the midst of COVID-19. So the question that everyone would always ask is, how has COVID-19 affected you? Positively or negatively, whichever.
I would say both ways, right? I mean, it's taxing emotionally. I mean, you know, living in Singapore and having a role which kind of connects me with people from all over the region. I used to travel a fair bit, maybe not enough to become a platinum member on any particular airline, but sufficiently, you know, enough to spend some time outside with people. Used to travel a fair bit. COVID really locked us down. So the initial reaction was obviously, how do we deal with it, right? It's not easy not to be traveling, not to be going to office, to be only sitting in front of this little screen and trying to look at people, but also then putting your energies onto this little spot on the top of your screen, which is a tiny little camera. It's taxing. So the change has not been easy, obviously. And then being in technology and being in a role that was very user-centric role, it was expected out of us that we support our users, reach out to them, connect to them, help them out in doing what they do, and to make them successful. So that took a lot of effort. So we really had long hours of work initially, trying to make sure that everybody is connected, everybody can work seamlessly. Thankfully, in our organization, we did that very, very well. Within a short period of time, we kind of enabled almost 200,000 odd people to connect in and work seamlessly without much of an issue. Of course, there are teething issues in different countries depending on local circumstances and personal challenges as well, right? Not everybody can come on video from home. They're not comfortable. Not everybody has a office space at home. So all these were issues that we had to deal with initially. So personally, of course, I've been fortunate that at home I have some space which I can call a little workplace for myself, which I could carve out, but that's not the scenario with everyone. So we had to find solutions that work for everyone. That took us on a journey of transformation, and we are still in the middle of transformation as an organization. We also took a step to say, okay, let's look at the future. Let's define what a future looks like for us. So quite early on in the pandemic period, the organization decided that in the future, a hybrid way of working is the way that can work for us as an organization. And we started gearing ourselves for that change, and we embarked on that change on a global level. I've been fortunate to be part of a team that works on that topic as well, driving a particular work stream in that area. But it's been a very rewarding journey, a rewarding change. but emotionally taxing at the same time. Absolutely. It's not easy. It's not easy.
I can resonate with you. We used to travel quite a bit as well. Now having to only meet our friends on camera, I think that's quite sad that we no longer can have our drinks together. We can no longer have that little meals together and that little adventures that we don't know what's happening. I miss those as well. I actually have this question, Santosh. Who is Santosh at home versus at work?
That's a very, very interesting question now that you put me on a spot here. I think I should ask my wife and my children who I am at home. Probably, hopefully they are watching
They're
me.
watching
I don't
you,
know.
right?
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully they are.
Let's
They should be the one answering that. I don't know, I mean, I'm actually quite quiet at home. Yeah, I tend to spend a lot of time at work, at home in that sense. So I'm working for a very long time because of my responsibilities that I carry and the amount of work that we have. But at the same time, I try to take some time out, but it's not easy because it's tiring, it's long days. So I really don't know how to answer that question, Daryl. I should ask my wife,
Ask
my
Rose.
kids. Yeah,
How are you at home?
how are you at home actually? Why not? Yeah. Let's hear
Okay.
from somebody else.
For me, I think, you see, it's inevitable that when you're running your own business and preparing for this conference and being a network orchestrator, to be in touch with my peers, with my partners, and all those, I find that we spend a lot of time on just facing that monitor, right? And it gets very cold sometimes because it's like, you're not interacting like how you used to. I'm an extrovert, so I get energy from people, right? But from the monitor itself, it doesn't feel so, even though I'm facing them, but it doesn't, I can't feel that emotion. That is why, I really salute to you, like, you're managing like so many countries and you're just talking to the monitor, just wondering, as a leader as well, how are you feeling that from them, the emotion? I mean, how, now we are talking about empathetic leadership, right? And these people are going on Zoom, and in the recent cases, we are seeing like Asia, putting in the spot, and the CEO, I don't know if you've seen that video, it was Agrison. So really, it's about the emotion thing that we are missing. It is not about the human part. I mean, it is the human part, but it's the emotion that we are not grasping when we are looking at the monitor. Yeah.
It's true, but there are two ways you can sense emotion, right? So one is like this, yeah. I mean, you come together like this, the kind of emotional connect that you can create is very different, right? In a physical world like that. But in an organization, when you are stuck within the edges of the screen, if I may, we have to make a lot more effort to be empathetic, to reach out and connect. So as leaders, not just as leaders, but as people in teams and working together with teams, we really had to do that. So we started having regular chats, but chats not just about work, but also about personal well-being, how's family, how are things at home. In fact, I would say while the initial part was a lot more challenging, we learned over the first, I would say, 3-6 months that we can become a lot more empathetic even in a virtual world, right? So while you are right that we draw energies when you are meeting people and you are together with people in person, you can draw and kind of get that energy even through that screen, but it takes a little bit more effort. So you got to reach out, you got to connect, you got to be talking to them, you got to involve them, engage them. Not everybody is equally engaged because each one's circumstances is so different. And especially when we were dealing with largely the region, but also with people from across the globe, whether it is Europe or Americas, You really have to put yourselves out there, spend a lot of time talking on individual level, talking on team level, talking about your challenges. So initially we even talked about what challenges we face as individuals, because that helps people open up to you as well to say, okay, yeah, we do have challenges. And I can remember, you know, the first few months it was hard to get this from people to say what is the real challenge they're facing, or how are they really, right? But then slowly people started opening up and they said, you know, I'm really struggling. And then we as leaders and managers, we had to find ways of making sure that we can still help address it, right? So started staggering work, taking work off them to give them a little bit of respite from the workload, trying to give them space to kind of recover from the challenges that they have at home. Not everything could be delivered to them. We could not make sure that, because physically you are not around. Even in the country we had people, it was hard for them to reach out because we were not allowed to go out because of lockdowns. But we had to find ways of reaching out and connecting. So I can quote an example. We actually came up with a buddy system. So for people who we thought had a bit of a challenge, we assigned a buddy, not formally saying I'm going to be your buddy, or so it was more an informal way of setting it up. So we tell, it's okay, you know, let's say if it was me who was the affected party, you would have told Daryl, you are the closest to him, Santosh, right? Why don't you reach out and talk on a regular basis, see how he feels. So I did not know that Daryl was being assigned my buddy, but we kind of created that kind of a sense. So what happened was, it was seen more as a friendly gesture.
Yes.
Right? So because I know Daryl well, I would open up, and that worked actually pretty well in order to help people open up. And then we kind of facilitated changes. We help people heal through that process and through that journey.
Is it like a bit of a secret pal kind of thing, where you are? Well, I don't know. Are you appointed a particular person as a buddy, and of course the person that is the appointed one wouldn't know until the situation would arise and the person comes in. But this is very interesting, because it brings us back to that very same Nelson Mandela quote. You know, when someone feels that it is providing I won't call it a helping hand, but it is providing that friendship without any expectations that makes that relationship the most enjoyable one.
I suppose so, isn't it?
I think so, right?
Yeah, I mean, probably the outcome should be that they are much better friends today. They probably have opened up to each other much more, and those relationships should be a more long-term relationship. But again, it depends on individuals, right? I mean, some people take it as a role to do, and some others may use this as an opportunity to really become buddies. So
right. It's an interesting question. Are there people who really cannot have relationships? Have you seen or have you heard of such a people?
Tough, right? Human beings, being human, thrive on connections, thrive on being connected with somebody or somewhere. I suppose you need to be a meditating sage who is sitting on top of a mountain, probably isolated for a period of time, to be completely cut off from the world. But other than that, I think as humans, we need relationship to thrive. Personal, professional, and all kinds of relationships, right? Can you be socially distant? In fact, this word social distancing is so wrong, right? I mean, it's actually not social. It's not social.
Oh my gosh. It is not social distancing.
It is just physical distancing.
Exactly,
right?
It's physical.
So this is really a misnomer. It's actually, in fact, if anything has happened, people have become a lot more social in the last 18 odd months, right?
Yes.
People have started connecting with others who are so far out. You probably never thought you would connect with on such a regular basis. You reached out to people who you didn't know. You built relationships with people who you didn't know. And I mean, a person like Kiran I mentioned earlier, I didn't know him before COVID. It's just happened that during that period, and it's amazing. I keep track of his story on a regular basis, and it's inspiring always. So yeah, social distancing is not
No,
the right
it's-
word. We are
yeah,
not.
no.
We're not socially. So relationships matter.
Yes.
As human beings, that's what keeps us going, I suppose.
Exactly. And I'm in total alignment with you. And this whole notion of social distancing was so wrong when I first heard it. I was like, no, this is very important. We cannot social distance from each other. Yes, we should physically distance, but not socially. And of course, that was one of the reasons why, like what you said, right? The first 3 months and the first 6 months were the most crucial months.
Yes.
The interesting part for us, Rose and myself, was while everyone was busy trying to cope or trying to deal with the situation, we decided that, no, let's pause. Let's just be mindful about what is happening and how are we being affected in that sense. I think which brings us to this whole intent of why we are going to take the leap of faith to get into Design Thinking Conference Asia in 2022. We don't know what's going to happen, really. Are we going to get a new Choi, yeah? Touch wood. Wherever that is, yeah? No. I think we have all grown big. We have all grown stronger. And we want to have this journey together with you, Santosh, Rosemary, and you on screen as well. We want to co-create this journey to reach that point where we can finally have that conference, whether it's physical conference or whether it is a blended conference. I don't know, but what would a conference look like to you, Santosh, in 2022?
I'm hoping.
To help you through the lens, you know.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
team is through the lens, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping definitely that it is that your wish of having it physical and or maybe even hybrid is a possibility. At least based on where we are today as a country, Singapore. Yes, with vaccination rates so high and with the government really supporting us with opening up and helping us through that journey. 2022, and I think you said what, April 2022?
Yeah,
the conference?
April.
Yeah, I think it should be a more physical conference, but what it should mean is I really hope that through that process, you know, we can build connections with people. And I'm hoping that I don't know whether there is a word called heartware. Can we spread more heartware where people come together, connect with each other and take back something that's personal and important for them individually, while you might meet your collective objective of the event. So I'm hoping that you have that outcome and impact with your conference, Darryl.
Thank you very much. And it's definitely not going to be just ourselves, but with you as well. I think what's important is whether we are able to find a way collectively, not just in Singapore, but across the whole of Asia. How can we work with each other to make this conference happen?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think it will happen.
I hope so too. What are your hopes of the conference?
My hope is to really bring in my collective folks, you know, whom we've been working with, you know, in the movement, to bring them to the conference so that they, you know, that's where our collective wisdom can happen, and that's what I'm looking for. Yeah.
Well, it's if there was something that should be included in the conference in 2022, what would that be for you? Now, this is just an appeal, asking you, what would that be for you? If there is going to be a conference in 2022, what would you like to see? Maybe let's start off, I don't know. Do you have a thought on that? What would you like to see happen?
I would like to see people connecting with each other, actually. That is really what building connections when they come together, because we have been physically separated for such a long time. This is an opportunity to come together. Everything else will flow, I believe, from there on.
Absolutely. Wow. Connecting people together. Being socially closer.
Socially closer.
Socially closer. I don't know whether that's the right word to use. Rosemary leh?
For me, it's really collective, for that collective to happen.
Well, for me, it's just, again, like what Santosh mentioned, it's about bringing people together, whether physically or emotionally. I think more importantly, giving us that renewed faith in us to create something different. Yeah. So if there was one word that I could get all of us to share with everyone about what you feel today, what would that be? Rosemary.
Human-centeredness.
Santosh.
I would say very happy because I got the chance to meet you guys in person after such a long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Santosh. My word would be co-creation. With that, thank you very much for joining us in today's live cast. We will have another 11 live interviews with our different guests. Stay tuned with us. We have many more things coming up. But most importantly, join us in this co-creation.